This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not an offer or solicitation of an offer to buy or sell securities. SNN.Network and Maj Soueidan are not licensed brokers, broker-dealers, market makers, investment bankers, investment advisors, analysts, or underwriters. We do not recommend any companies discussed. We may buy, sell, short, cover securities in any company mentioned and may profit in the event those securities rise in value if we are long and fall if we are short. We recommend you consult with a professional investment advisor, broker, or legal counsel before purchasing or selling any securities referenced in this podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to Avoiding the Crowd with your host, Maj Soueidan. I'm your producer, Robert Kraft. You can follow me on Twitter at Bobby K. Kraft, BOBBYKKRAFT. And we got a pretty epic episode that I actually might sit in on a little bit and ask a few questions myself because this guest is just, we've been talking offline. It's fascinating. So I'd like to introduce our host, Maj Soueidan. Maj, what's going on, man? Look at this background now. He's got all the greats behind him, but I'm not there. What's going on?
You should be all of it.
I should be. That's what I've been trying to tell you. You know, I should be in color, like right where Warren's face is. What's going on?
My brother ordered it for me. He said he was getting sick of looking at the white wall. So I had to do a,
Did
he
got
a gray wall shirt on or something. I don't know. We'll get there eventually.
Wait, Egor, hold on. We got to figure this out. Did he order it for you? Did he like paper mache that? Did he make it himself? Is this like a collage project?
Well, he is artistic, so he could have made it. So maybe he did.
It looks
did he cut it out of all those value investing books that you read once and understood it completely, never going to read again? Like,
you better have.
Yeah, he took out, instead of putting the book like a bookshelf, what he decided to do is just let's do a collage of this and call it a day.
Yeah,
that's good shit. All right, well, hey Maj, you want to introduce our guest? Who we got joining us right now?
Yeah, so Egor Romanyuk, right? Is that
Romanyuk? Yeah, Romanyuk. Yeah.
Actually, he should be on this thing one day, hopefully, soon on this poster because he's been doing really good with some of the picks he's given us at geo investing. So I'm really excited to have him here today. So Rom, why don't you? Now this is going to be a little different, by the way. Usually when I'm talking to a guest, we go through your history, which we'll do. Go through some of your kind of like your investing style and that kind of stuff, but I really want to get into some of your stock picks you've talked about with me.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a good learning platform too, and Avoid the Crowd. So maybe we'll learn some of your strategies by going through some of your case studies of a couple stocks you pitched at geo investing and you wrote up in geo investing, and then learn from that. And I'm sure that'll lead into some other questions about your strategy and these kind of things. But
sure.
Let's get into tell us about yourself. Everything, just you can before you started investing, your history, your journey, how you got here, where you live, life where you live, and life.
Okay. A little bio. Yeah, I get it. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. We haven't actually spoken in a while, but the last time we spoke, and I actually hold one of the stocks that we first last talked about. I've held it for over a year, but I guess it's really quite important to tell where I come from before talking about a strategy. Is I grew up in Toronto. I am from an immigrant family. We immigrated to Toronto when I was 12 years old from Russia. And I grew up there. I finished high school, and then I went to York University there for finance. So I actually one of those few people that does what they went to school for, right? So, and it's actually quite funny when we have a conversation. What you study in school? I'm like, finance. And I go, well, okay, really, like not like social studies or anything like that. Not that I have anything against social studies, right?
Or engineers. A lot of engineers are stock traders.
A lot of engineers. A lot of. I have a friend. I think he majored in forestry or something like that. He's one of the best private equity investors I know now. But I guess whatever. Anybody can be a private equity investor this year, right? So anyway, so I went to university there, and while I was in university, my dad worked as a dispatcher for a trucking company in Toronto. And I decided, I needed a part-time job. So they hired me there. I learned how to dispatch and I learned how to manage a small fleet. The company had just under 100 trucks, right? It was a private company, not too big, but not too small. 100 trucks is still, 10 to 20 million in just revenue generating assets, right? So it's quite big for a small business. And I worked there for a couple of years while I was attending lectures. So I would go for lectures in the morning, then I would come back to work, then go for another lecture at night. And it always used to be something like microeconomics, right? That 3-hour lecture at 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. You go nuts. And then I would go back to the office, work until 1 a.m., go to sleep, go home, wake up at 7 a.m. and just kind of repeat it. I did that for 3 years. And after I graduated from York, me and my dad decided to start our own trucking company. So we started a small trucking company, literally from just one owner operated truck. And then we just kind of built up and got our own trucks and so forth. And that's when I started, because I was in school for finance, I started looking into the stock market and investing some money. I made pretty decent money. I was in my early 20s. And, if you do well in trucking, you do quite well, right? So I used to make maybe 5 to 10 grand a month in profit, just my share, right? For a kid who was 21 years old, it was good. So I started investing. Man, I was once a shareholder of CNO Forest. Remember that thing? No. Remember what Carson Block did to that thing? Man.
Yeah. How about your forestry friend? Was he the one to give you that thing?
Anyway, those stories aside, I decided, I decided to invest in tech companies and invested in Microsoft and whatever, just put money in. Then 2008 came. That was actually pretty good. I actually made my first $1 million in 2008. What makes the story even better, I lost it all in 2009. Right. But anyway, we'll get back to that. Right. And
humble. That's good. We like that.
So I decided, what is the stock market? The biggest problem with the stock market today, and especially when we talk to a lot of retail investors, and for a company that I worked for, I'm going to get to that, vast majority of their clients are retail. We're talking about people who put in $3,000 into a brokerage account and then $5,000, $10,000 and so on. And we're not talking about multi-million dollar accounts. The problem is, a lot of people forgot what a stock market is, right? A stock market is a platform where people can buy a portion of a business, right? And become shareholders. A lot of people go to, I buy it now, I sell it in a couple of days. Maybe I make some money, and they turn it into, they say the stock market is a casino. I obviously don't take it that way. I find it as a platform to buy a business. And at that point, I thought, what business do I understand? Transportation, right? Because it's been in for years. And the two stocks that I've pitched, I think, on geo investing were both transport companies. One of them was Kai International. They do container leasing. They're actually up, I think, 200% since then, something like that. And the other one was YRCW, which was later renamed back to Yellow Corp, which is almost 100 years old. Yellow Corp, but their logos are orange. It's a big thing. Don't ask. It's been going on for 40 years, and they're still back to an orange logo, although they're renamed back to yellow. And so yeah, this is where I started investing. I do a lot of trucking companies ask me about any trucking company or anything that has to do with transportation. I like that sector, or let's say I like that industry to invest in, because it's a business that I understand. So in order for me to make an investment, if I don't understand what the business does thoroughly, I'm very unlikely to invest in it, and which made a lot of possible profits go around me, right? A lot of people go, buy this, space company, or buy this IT company, or SAS, or however anyway, with IT. And I'm like, I don't understand the business. How can I invest in it? I don't know what they're doing. I don't know which way they're going. I don't know who's running it. I never heard these names before. So I'm probably going to stay away. So that's a brief story of how I got into investing and why I do transportation stocks. So then a little just about me for another minute. In 2014, me and my dad, we closed down our trucking company. I don't remember why we closed it. It was just, I don't know. We just decided we didn't want to do it anymore. Things weren't going too well at the time in the economy. The rates were going down and so forth. And I went to Miami, and I lived in Miami for like 6 months. In July, end of July, I said, there's no way I'm going to survive in this climate. And so I decided, and I went to Italy. Just for vacation. I went to like Venice and then Florence, love Florence, and then went to Rome. And then I thought, hey, I haven't been home in Russia in, wow, at that time I was like 15 years. So I thought, since I'm already on this side of the ocean, I might as well go visit my grandma and so forth. So I bought a ticket. I flew over to see my grandma, and I never came back. And yeah, so I stayed there. I found a girl. We got married. We now have 2 kids, a third one on the way. From there, I lived there for like 2 years. I started like a small advisory firm. It was very difficult to find like retail clients for for advisory in Russia, because Russia is very, the whole capitalism is quite fresh there. I mean, it is like 30 years old now, but it's still quite fresh if you compare it to like US and stuff, right? And a lot of people are very, they see the stock market, it's a casino to them, and it's very, very difficult for you to explain otherwise. So I stayed there for like 2 years. I built up a couple of million in advisory clients, and I moved to Cyprus to open a hedge fund. We came there. This is an awesome story. The two of us moved to Cyprus to buy a hedge fund. And of course, majority of our clients are from Russia, from Kazakhstan, all these post-Soviet countries. That's where the investors come from. While we're there, we bought the hedge fund. We paid the money. We're changing the directors. Literally, while we're there, Wilbur Ross, is that his name? He was like secretary or whatever. I don't remember who he was. He flies over there with a bunch of guys from like Bank of New York Mellon and the guys who like run Swift. They go into all these Cyprus banks and to the SEC, and they say, you have to change the whole system about your KYCs and your source of funds. And they made it basically unbearable for our clients to bring money to Cyprus. Wow. And so we said, we're literally in the middle of the whole thing, we said, just drop it. We don't want the hedge fund anymore. Keep it. So from there, I was at the time friends with Timur. Timur is the CEO of Freedom Holding Corp. They're on NASDAQ now. We got it listed in 2019 in October. Their ticker is FRHC. So he goes, hey, come over, work for us. We need somebody like you, somebody who knows the market. And so I flew over to Moscow. I lived there for a year. Then I went to Kazakhstan for a year. That's where their headquarters are, second headquarters. I worked there for 2 years. I joined on the board of directors of a couple of like Kazakhstan-based mining companies. It's just one of the investments the company had. And then in February 2020, I said, that's enough. I've had enough. So I moved to Dubai. I now just live in Dubai. And at this point, I basically just invest my own capital. So that's the short story. Although it didn't seem that short, but hey, awesome. It's a free call over the internet, so I'm going to take my time. Yeah.
You actually answered one of my questions right away, because I was going to ask you, because there was this financial institution that deals in Eastern Europe, and it's FRMC, right?
FRHC, yeah.
FRHC. I forgot the symbol, because they changed symbols, I believe, at one point, right? It was a previous symbol.
They used to trade on OTC as BMBMB. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And I was I just couldn't find the symbol anymore. I was like, where happened to that symbol? Now you brought it to light, and wow, it was amazing how it full circle. You actually were part of that.
Yeah, they're like their market cap is like $3 billion now. They're doing well.
Yes, I think it's like $50. I think I was looking around 10. I didn't understand the company that much.
Yeah.
We should talk.
Well, I bought my first shares at like 250, sold them at 7. I was the happiest guy in the world. And then, right. I usually delete these things off my watch list so I don't have to watch them and cry every day anymore. So let them go.
Emotional bias, man. You got to control that. So very funny. You have a little bit of Peter Lynch in you, in your whole story. You buy what you know, which is awesome. And so you're obviously a concentrated investor. I mean, you don't have a diversified portfolio, I assume. So how many stocks have you invested in over your? I mean, can you count them over your career so far? Is it less than 20? More than 20
in total, like that I've been invested in, or I'm invested in right now as we speak.
Right now. Did you just yell? Basically, or
I am going to basically destroy every single reputation that I've had talking to our clients about diversification. I've been owning one stock for over a year. I just own that one stock. That's it. And I bought it. I've put in the floor. in the stock. Literally myself, I can show you the trading report says that I bought the shares at 129. And my average is about 170 per share. I really went crazy in March and end of March and April, and I bought almost 2 million shares altogether. Yeah. So, not almost. I bought exactly 2 million shares. Yeah.
And for those who aren't familiar with geo investing, where I'm the co-founder of that geo, Egor's written some articles for us, and we started taking contributor articles in 2015. And you came around, I think you wrote yours to CAI in 2019, I think it was.
19, yeah.
And that's gone up, over 100%. And then you had Yell, which I think is up over 200% already in 2020.
Yeah, it used to be YRCW, yeah.
There it is, YRCW. And then January 15th, you pitched it to us about Geo and wrote an article on it. So it's awesome that you know.
It's like up 200% now. From I think it was around like $3 when I wrote it. Yeah.
Excellent, man. You're in good company too. Overall, I mean, I was going over some stats today for Geo, and I'm going to talk about it next week on Bobby Crafts with Bobby. But the hit rate for our members is incredible right now. So I think over like.
Well, if I was officially hired analyst for geo investing, I would have a 100% success rate. Yeah,
you're bringing the average up.
Just two stocks, but they did well. They did well. Yeah.
But we're going to wait for your third. I mean, you gotta. You can't keep staying on the.
I'm working on one.
Forever.
I'm working on one. It's going to come out soon, and it's actually not a transportation stock, but it is. It's related to a Russian guy, a very, very, very smart Russian guy. I'm going to give a hint. I'm going to give it away. He was recently fired as the CEO of the company. And the reason it was done is because when he developed their technology, he moved the company to the US. And now because it's protected, right, because it has to do with space innovation, stuff like that, he's not allowed to use it anymore. So he had to be let go as the CEO, and they had to hire somebody from one of the better known space firms in the US. So
I'm begging you, please give Geo some consideration when you write that article.
Absolutely. Hey, why not? Yeah. It's the only problem is it's not a small cap anymore.
That's we allow that here and there. We're all.
But I think it's worth like $1 billion now. It's not big. But I'm still in Yell. I'm still in Yell big, and I haven't sold out of the position. And so that's going to take me some time. Like, I mean, I own 3 days worth of average volume of that company. So
wow. And and I agree with you so much about the whole casino approach to investing. Everyone says a casino. It's only a casino if you don't know what you're doing. It's like
casino. It's see the way that I look at it, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, but it's only casino depending on what you want from it, right? It's we have a lot of clients. It's like, I want to invest for a couple of weeks, or I want to invest for a month. And I mean, FRHC has like hundreds of thousands of retail clients, and they have a very different approach to brokerage. So like, let's say if you have an account like Interactive Brokers or whatever, they don't tell you what to buy. They don't send you like all these like weekly summaries of what they think is good. Then they actually have you ever tried contacting support of Interactive Brokers? You'll have better luck getting a hold of, the president than getting some kind of support there. And I think I had a ticket that's still hanging there for like 3 months. But anyway, and they have a really cool approach. They have a manager, like literally every single client has a personal manager. So they have a lot of staff that carry these clients, so the client could call in and ask questions and message and stuff, which is really cool. Something that a lot of people are not doing. I don't know why I went this way. What were we talking about?
The casino.
The casino, yeah. So, and especially when you go to, since we work with a lot of clients in Eastern Europe and Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and like Ukraine and all these like basically post-Soviet countries, is because capitalism is very young. It's very fresh. Right. Because, for so many years it was communism there, and, everybody did what they're told, and everybody made the same amount of money for no matter what they did and such. And, entrepreneurship and business wasn't allowed. You weren't allowed to own business. Right. Everything was government owned. So when it all started, a lot of people made a lot of money very quickly. So imagine you have this economy that didn't have private business, and then everybody was allowed to make private business, right? So a lot of people made a lot. So people in general in these countries are used to making very quick profits on whatever they do. So when you come to them and then you go, we can invest in this, but we got to hold this for maybe 3 to 5 to 10 years, whatever it is, we got to work out. It's going to go, oh, that's crazy. No, we don't want to do that. Right. So they go like, but it's, if we can do something that, maybe we can make a lot of money in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then yeah, but that's the casino approach. Right. So that's what it is.
It is too. And what's interesting about that too is like, I used to be shorter term when I was younger in my investing style. I was still looking for fundamental companies, but I wouldn't dig as deep. And what ended up happening a lot of times, you would make all this money, but you would go through these rinse and repeat cycles because you end up holding some crap sometimes. And
you'll end up losing money.
They wouldn't come back when the market came back, and at some point, this casino mentality ends. We don't know when it ends, and you're gonna have your portfolio's gonna get decimated, and they're gonna stay down.
Right.
People are gonna be holding all these overvalued companies, crappy companies that are never gonna come back. So, but you can't. It's hard to really, to each their own, right? They want to play that game and make money on it. That's fine. It's all part of the whole game.
There's a really good saying, right? How many day traders are in the Forbes richest people in the world, right? Not one, right? And I'm sure you do, and I do know a bunch of day traders that are millionaires. They made millions of dollars in this, right? But I always have a question for them. So let's say you made $5 million, $10 million day trading, right? You obviously don't put all that capital into day trading when you're trading. Your position is still capped at a couple of $100K, right? What are you doing with the rest? You're putting it into bonds, or you're putting it into long-term stories, or whatever it is, right? There's no way you're going to quit the market. That's it. You're sucked in. You're part of it. So obviously they have it in some kind of longer term story. So when somebody says, I made millions day trading and I'm still day trading for a living, no, you're day trading on the side now, because now it's a very small portion of your money that's day trading. Everything else is invested long term, or it's in an index fund or whatever it is. Or maybe they bought, real estate in Dubai and we'll never see that money again.
Awesome. So, and by the way, I visited Russia in 2007. And it's
nice.
And then what's interesting about the story is it was probably I was being stupid, spending my money like crazy, because I had made all this money for many years.
Yes.
And I was doing a lot. I went to Brazil, then I went to Russia. I went to Kiev, Moscow, and St. Pete. I landed at that time. I landed in Kiev at a record high in my portfolio. By the time I left, we had that first, I guess I got there in June. I was probably there for maybe 2 months. The market had its first little crash. I was in Russia while the market's crashing. And I stayed long because I was like, I'm not going back home to this shit. but I learned some lessons then, but I loved it. I loved St. Petersburg a lot.
These are beautiful old cities. Like, even Moscow now. I've been all over Europe. I've been to what is it? Oh, no, I can't even remember what it's called in English. Basically, the capital of Austria.
Okay.
What is it? What I keep forgetting? Vienna, right? Or whatever it is. I've been to London. I've been to Rome. I've been to Italy. I think at the point where Moscow is right now, it really is just as beautiful as cultural and interesting as any other old European city right now. It wasn't like that in the 90s. It was very dirty and it had this whole shift from socialism to capitalism. It was a difficult time, but now it's a gorgeous place. And if anybody, are not spending too much time on CNN and they're, not crazy about what's happening, what they think is happening with Russia, then I think it's a beautiful place to visit. And I absolutely think they should.
When I was there, I loved it. I actually found that St. Pete of the 3 places I went was the friendliest. I don't know why that was the case, but we're just very open there, and I had a good time there of the 3.
Yeah. No, absolutely. For me, it was easier. I'm fluent in Russian, right? So and I lived there for a couple of years. So, but I don't think I would go back to live there. I prefer Dubai for its. See, Moscow and St. Petersburg are different. They have like 4 sunny days in the year, right? And Dubai is like the other way around. It literally like rains for 17 minutes a year here, and so it's nice.
Well, actually,
it's nice.
In St. Pete though, you have white nights in the summertime, right?
Those are cool, man. Those are
that's
really
right. I had no idea to expect that. I went from Russia, like it was Moscow. I'm sorry. We were there for a few days, and I flew to like an 8 o'clock flight. I land in like St. Pete. It's still sunny.
Yeah. No, it's it literally stays sunny for like a week.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It was beautiful. Yeah. So let's learn a little bit here about. Let's go through Yell is what I want to talk about because you're still in that right now.
Yeah.
And I want you to walk us through why you liked the story originally. And even in 2020, when you wrote the article in early 2020, you had already been in that stock before, right?
I have. Yeah. It's actually pretty volatile. Like it would have like 100% volatility on like earnings reports and stuff like that. Yeah.
And then you saw opportunity again. And so talk about how you found the opportunity the first time and what you saw there. And you became an activist eventually. You were very boisterous about what was going on there eventually.
We'll get to that. I don't know if I want to say like I'm a full-blown activist in that one, but this is a long story. So kids, this is how I met Yelp. Right. And of course, I was in the transportation industry. Yellow is like 100 years old, right? It's almost 100 years old. I think they have like 100th anniversary next year or the year after. It's been around. It's the second largest LTL company. I mean, they have 30,000 employees. Like, I mean, if you're an investor in the transportation industry, you know YRC, Yellow. It's always there, just like everybody knows FedEx and UPS and probably Old Dominion and stuff. Old Dominions. That's another story we need to talk about because I think that one's way overvalued. But anyway, and so a couple of years ago, their stock dumped to like $3, and it's never been below 8 for years, right? And they've always had a lot lower valuation than all of their competitors because they're unionized. They're one of the only 2 remaining companies in the industry that are unionized. So obviously, of course, it costs them a lot more to maintain that workforce because there's pensions and welfare and this and that and overtime. They have to pay every penny, double time, and so forth. So one of their their largest expense is workforce. And because, you read like a lot of forums from drivers that say, oh, we're the lowest paid. But then if you count in the welfare and the healthcare and the pensions and stuff, they're actually one of the highest paid drivers in the industry. Right. And so what happened is this story came out. The Department of Justice, on behalf of some ex-employee, has filed a lawsuit against YRCW because YRC actually hauls for the Department of Defense, right? So they filed this lawsuit that YRC used to cheat on their weights, right? Because they charge per weight, right, when they haul. So what they did is the Department of Defense would load whatever shipment it was. It would go to their warehouse and then they would reweigh it. And basically the lawsuit says that they lied on the weights and they said it was more weight than it really was. So they got sued. That lawsuit's still going on. And there's been like 1 million motions to dismiss and so forth. Like, I mean, I think it's still in pretrial. So anyway, the stock dumped to like $3, right? For the first time ever. Right. And I said, you know what? I got to go long this one. This one's going to rebound. I mean, I've sued, remember China Auto Logistics, Cali? Remember that one?
Yeah.
I'm the one who exposed the fraud, right? So, and I'm the one, and I sued them. And then I had, first I had a derivative lawsuit, and then now I have a class action lawsuit that's still pending. The derivative got dismissed because of a technicality and the beauty of the U.S. justice system. But anyway, the class action one is still going, and I sued them for $500 million, and because basically they used offshore companies and so forth. I don't know how I got to Cali, but in this conversation, so basically, I know how lawsuits work. I know they will take years, and majority of them won't even go get anywhere. Right. So I said, you know what, I got to jump on this. I got to get in. It's really undervalued. The company has like 5 billion in revenues. And at the time it had a $120 million market cap, right? With like debt under $1 billion. So I jumped in it. It bounced to 8. I didn't sell. I thought, it's going to go back up. Then again, it dumped to 3, and then COVID came. So it dumped down to like 130. And that's when I bought, I think like 1.7 million shares in 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. I just want to set anything under $2. It's mine. I want it. Right. And I bought it, and I was just convinced. I literally put 83% of my net worth into that stock. Like, I'm talking, including all the real estate and cars and that one hockey card that I own that I don't remember who's on it. But anyway, yeah, 83% of my money went into that stock, and I held. And the reason, things were bad. Things were bad because, the pandemic and everything shut down, and especially, all trucking companies suffered, right? Because a lot of, they just can't go anywhere. All the shippers, all the receivers were closed and had the lockdown. But it's a unionized company. They have 30,000 workers, right? And they haul for the Department of Defense. So what happens in July? Big news. The USA lends YRCW $700 million in 2 tranches, $300 million to pay the expenses that they missed because of the pandemic. And then they give them $400 million to buy new equipment, which is huge because Yellow's fleet is outdated. Right. And although they have a lot of trucks, man. I think at this point they have 14,000 trucks. It's a huge company. They have over 300 terminals all over North America, right? So they have quite a few assets, and there's a big story. Before the 2008 crash, they bought Holland, I think, is one of the divisions now. They overpaid crazy for it because at the time everything was overvalued, even small trucking companies. And then they had a really hard time getting out of that debt, and it took them like 10 years, and they had to do splits, and then they had to convert debt that they couldn't cover anymore. It's a whole mess up until about 2012. Right. And then from there, it's been like around 100, 200 million market cap. Now it's actually the highest market cap it's been in a long time. Right. And so the U.S. Treasury took a stake. They lent them $700 million at a lot cheaper than what they borrow from Apollo, like their main, as if they couldn't find another place to borrow. But anyway, Apollo is who they borrowed most of their debt is from. It's like $600 million. It's not too much for a company their size. So anyway, the U.S. basically bailed them out, but it's a loan. Right. They didn't give him the money. They have to pay it back. And the Treasury received 16 million shares as a gift. Right. So basically it's part of it. And then another huge thing is obviously the stock rebounded back to like $5-6, kind of stuck around there. And then as soon as we heard that the new stimulus package is going to have aid for multi-employer pension funds, it just went straight to 9. I mean, that's a big one. The thing with Yellow, I can literally talk for hours about it. There's so much information on it. They've been through hell and back, and they're just crawling out of it slowly. And I think they have a bright future ahead of them. And the best way to put it is the current board and the management love their shareholders, and on their own, they have attracted 2 very, very experienced individuals for the board of directors. Nobody helped them or asked them to do it. And one of them is the ex-CEO of Walmart Transportation, which is Chris Saltemeyer, and the other one is ex-CEO of Conway, which is XPO Logistics now. So I mean, these 2 are like industry superstars. They were just added to the board in December, and I think things are going to go really well.
I remember you guys seeing your Twitter feed. You were pretty boisterous against about some of the things that were going on there, and they actually threatened to sue you, right? Wasn't there
there is an SEC letter? The SEC letter. You can actually access it on the Edgar system. The SEC wrote me a letter. When did you buy this? You have to clear up when did you buy the stock? Because I did a full-blown 13D filing that I bought 5.4%, and I want to replace 2 members of the board, right? Because, One of them, well, the board at the time, except for the CEO and the CFO of the company, the people on the board have never worked a day in a trucking company, ever, or anything that had to do with transportation. And I'm like, how do you have a company? How do you have a board of directors in a company that have never worked in a trucking company before, a day of? You know what I mean? Like, can you answer a simple question? How many pallets fit into a 53-foot trailer? You can't. Right? Let's say, oh, they're turnaround specialists. Yeah, this turnaround's taking 11 years and it still hasn't turned around, right? Mm-hmm. So something's got to be done. And then Darren Hawkins, the CEO of the company, is actually a wicked guy. He's a great guy. He's very genuine. He's very calm. I love talking to him. You know, we had conversations, and when I told him I have maybe some candidates for the board. One of them, he was just ecstatic about, because, you know, well, it's who he is, right? And so they talked, and, you know, it took some time, and they added these two directors, which I think great move by them. Yeah.
So when you look at the company now, you have some of the things they did to make, obviously, improve the balance sheet and improve the optics. Is there anything else you're excited about in terms of what they're doing operationally, maybe, that make you feel strong about the story also?
The huge problem about it, and this is all because of the union, right? Because it's unionized. When they have 4 divisions, they have YRC Freight, they have Holland, they have New Penn, Roadway. I've said it so many times, I'm starting to forget it. They get mixed up, right? That's all I've been talking about for the last year. I'm sure everybody who follows me on Twitter is like, oh my God, there goes another tweet about yellow. Just let it be, man. But anyway, literally my bio on Twitter says lots of yell. Like, that's the first thing it says on my bio, right? And then what's the best way to approach it? No, I mean, there are a lot of good things happening. And when we invest into something, especially when we want to get into it long term, we look at the dynamic of how things are going, right? So you and I are both fundamental investors. We base, you know, I think I read your tweet, you know, a couple of years ago, where it says that, you know, when you were younger, you used to just spend your lunch break reading 10Ks, right? Was it you? Yeah, right. Yeah, I read more 10Ks than books in my life. That's 100% true, right? And so I look at the dynamic. If things are going well and they keep getting better and better and better and better, why would I sell the stock? It doesn't make any sense to me, unless I urgently need money, right? And one of the things that I would sell a stock like this is because I find a better opportunity. So let's say this stock went up, what, 5-fold since I bought it, right? And the possibility of it getting another 5-fold, probably best case, is going to double from here for me, right? If I find another opportunity that could make me, you know, another 5-fold, or be like a 10-bagger, then I might, you know, find it inside, you know, my head to sell Yell, just to, you know, to invest it into a better opportunity. But
which, by the way, you may have found.
But I'm not putting that much money in there, as I'm sure you've done the math. This was literally, I'm it right here. This was a life-changing investment for me, man. I've 2 million shares at $9, right? So yeah, it's definitely there. And I don't think I would ever be putting that much money into one stock, but I'm willing to invest like a couple of million in stock. And actually, I would like for it to be transportation stock, but right now I think all of them are just a little bit too high at valuation. They've all rebounded quite well. And if I were to go into a transportation stock, there's no way I would find better value than Yellow at this point. No way.
Awesome.
Right. So yeah.
So in terms of your process, man, take us through a typical day of how you're looking for stocks. I mean, is it
how do I look for stocks?
Is it screening? Is it reading press releases? And what brings into your funnel right away first? I mean, obviously you have knowledge of some industries like trucking, so you know what to look for. But do you have a process, or maybe you don't? I mean, maybe it's just more random. Talk about.
I do. The reason, well, I always like to buy just a little bit over 5%, right? So I can, you know, be heard, right? Anything that's under 5%, it's kind of that benchmark to be heard or not be heard, right? Ever, right? You know, some people get away with like 1% activist positions, but we know how those end, right? And it's usually, you know, there's never been an instance in my life that I try to make any kind of activist move that first word that I heard from the company was from a lawyer, not once. It's always from a lawyer. Always.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then they always, they say, oh, this is like a self-aggrandizing, or this is, you're trying to build, make an image for yourself as an activist. Like, I don't care. I invest in my own money. This is not asset management. This is not a fund. This is my own hard-earned money that I've made over years and years. And I put most of my savings, my lifetime savings into this. So I'm trying to, help. That's all I've been trying to do. I'm trying to help out. I'm trying to get people that would, make the company better. That's all I was trying to do at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, if I don't understand the business, there's no way I can figure out who's better and who's worse.
Sure.
Right. So first thing would have to be probably industry, right? Because like I said, I try to stick to transportation, logistics, containers, something that has to do with freight movements, shipments, brokerage companies, 3PLs, stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. I would like to stick to them, but like I said, right now is a hard time to find them, because again, we're looking, if I'm sticking to the industry, I won't find better value than that one. I like to keep to a market cap under a 300 million, which would make it like a MicroCap, right?
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And, network, it's probably 100% network. I worked for a brokerage company for 2 years as vice president of asset management, on Twitter and FinTwit, and a lot of people that I talk to, you guys and, other platforms, and they would be like, oh, there's such and such ticker. And I would be, hey, why not take a look at it? And if it's something that, appeals to me, I would give it a deeper look. Right. But because I used to short a lot of stocks, I used to short a lot of stuff. Right. And Cali and this whole thing. And then so for me, I guess with Cali was quite small, but I guess that would kind of make me a short activist, that I discovered a fraud scheme and I wrote it out, and then we sued them. So we decided not to short the stock. There was no way to short it, and the short interest, the rates were huge. So I said, you know what, let's buy a small amount of it and just sue them for it. Right. For the fraud. And then we actually had our case dismissed because we bought the stock after they first, committed fraud. The justice system didn't care that they still do it. Wow. But because I bought the stock, so basically they're saying that I bought the stock in order just to sue them for it. Although I bought the stock before I found the fraud anyway. But anyway, long story, that thing's over with. So for me, being on the short side for a while, so for me, a lot of people would look at all the good things and they would try to find all the, the cons, right? All the bad things to kind of try and see, what's wrong with it. I go the other way around, the opposite. So I go, what's wrong with it? Right. And if I don't find anything wrong with it, then I'm going to be like, maybe then I should invest it. Right. So it's kind of a backwards process for me. Right. If I don't find too many things wrong with it, and then, I'll start looking for what's right with it. Right. So.
Did you do a lot of shorting the China stuff at all? The China stuff? Because Gio has a pretty nice background, shorting China stocks.
Yeah. And one of the guys who I read a lot, he's no longer on Twitter. Mox Reports, Rich. He was great with that stuff, man. He's just, I don't know why, but he's nowhere to be found nowadays.
Right. Yeah.
Well, there's Carson. Well, there's always Carson, right? So he just kind of took his life and became like the China short guy, right?
Right.
And right. And I know you guys did a lot of China short. Maybe it's a blessing, but I haven't been short anything in like 2 years.
Well, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Right now, actually, we're at Gio.
Nuts.
We're trying to find, through the rubble of that China fraud kind of time period, we're trying to find any of those old companies are still hanging around, if any of them are actually legitimate. And we're actually finding some, which is kind of cool, but they still have that fraud, the PE and the fraud cosmetics just from the past. And we're actually finding some interesting value. We've done pretty good at that now. So we're ramping that up a little bit more right now, but it's pretty interesting. There actually might be interesting activists. We were just talking to Peter Hainsworth. Was it Hainsworth? I always get his. He's gonna hate me for this.
The name sounds familiar, but
Hainsworth, and he is an activist, in the China space. And while we were short of Geo, and we had developed a relationship with him, he was actually looking for those companies that were actually real, maybe misrepresenting themselves.
He had a hard time, yeah.
Yeah, well, he did, but he actually has a pretty good story now on one SVA,
Yeah.
which is halted now. But when it reopens, it's a biotech that has apparently a COVID vaccine, and when it gets unhalted, he's hoping the stock is going to take off. So what I'm wondering is if it's halted because of a litigation thing for a couple of years, I think now at least. I'm wondering maybe there's an opportunity for you to look for some value there, in that industry, and maybe get involved. Finding some China stocks that are just way undervalued, and if any way you could add value there. But I don't know if there's anything in transport. Well, there's in the transportation area that there's cash.
Transportation.
Auto.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be transportation. I mean, from 2011 up until 2014, all I traded was biotech. Literally, I would just look for PDUFA dates and try to read as much as I can. Then I would wait for the adcoms. I would watch some of them for these hours to see what the panel would vote and whether for orphan drugs. Obviously, the most hated guy by me at the time was Adam Feuerstein. I mean, every biotech investor hates Adam, right? But I guess he's just trying to do what all of us are trying to do when it comes to short activism stuff, right? But he's not even. He's a journalist, right?
Right.
But I did quite well in this biotech field, and up until about 2014, until Hillary decided to go on national television and say, well, we're going to fight drug prices. And then biotech never came back from that yet.
Right.
And it's been 7 years. 7 years, been biotech. It still hasn't come back from that. And she's never even became president. Imagine how crazy that is. Yeah. Well. Anyway, what I'm saying.
I'm gonna dodge that one for now.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be transportation. I mean, it has to be something that I would have a good chance of understanding. If I don't understand a business, there's no way you'll find me investing my money into it. Or I have to be close with someone who does understand it. Right. And right now we're actually in a process where we're getting a fund manager and a fund license here, licensed in Dubai. We're in the middle where we're submitting paperwork. We just gathered it all together. So hopefully that works out. We're going to be doing some private equity. I have partners in the US who do a lot of private equity stuff. And although it's not really my cup of tea, but pre-IPOs, like late rounds and stuff like that. They did Udemy recently, and they did a couple of SPACs. I mean, the actual the deck, or what you would call it, before it was listed and stuff. And they did SpaceX and stuff like that. So we're going to be bringing a lot of this stuff here in Dubai for investors that want to invest. There's a lot of money here, a lot of money in Dubai, and a lot more of it coming here now because it's one of the very few open countries in the world right now. Right. So a lot of people are. Before we recorded, you were talking about the per capita amount of millionaires in Dubai, right? There's about 200,000 multimillionaires here in Dubai for a population of 2.5 million. So literally every eighth person is a multimillionaire here. Every eighth person that lives here.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I actually and this is not to brag. It's a car, I dreamed of. And like I said, I had a life-changing investment, obviously. So I'm going to treat myself. I own a 2019 Rolls-Royce Dawn, right? It's all white, nice. Right? So I drive out of my garage, and there are 4 buildings. We live on this man-made island. Dubai's made all over these man-made islands, right? Because they had this limited, seashore, right? So there's how do we expand it? Oh, let's make more islands, right? So more sea life, right? So they kind of have this approach to it. So I literally pulled out of my garage. So I go on the side in front of my building. There's 2 more Rolls Royces there. I go to the next building, 1 more Rolls Royce Dawn. There's a small rental company. And I said, wow, the only 4 cars on the road on this little island are 4 Rolls Royces, right? And I said, wow, this is cool. And then I get to the last building. There's 2 more parked there. That's how crazy it is in Dubai. Literally, seeing a Lambo or a Ferrari or a Rolls Royce on the street is kind of they're everywhere. So
it's like a Starbucks.
Yeah. Well, the Lamborghini, and I still don't know how to pronounce it. The Urus. What is it? The SUV, the Lamborghini SUV.
Oh, the SUV. What is that? Yeah. That's the Urus. I don't know why they call it an SUV. It's still
It's like a $400,000 car, right? It's a $500,000 car.
yeah.
We actually went nuts. Well, we have our 4 buildings. They connect with one underground garage. So we went just on one floor. There are 17 of them parked.
Jeez.
Imagine how crazy, 17 of these. So that's literally like $8.5 million worth of just those cars in that parking lot, right?
And unlike Miami, they probably own the cars. Over here in Miami, they're renting them and leasing them for the day.
No, here there's no way you're getting a loan. No way you're getting a loan.
Yeah.
Everybody just buys cash. Yeah.
You got a lot of posters out here in Miami running around, and they're
yeah. I've been to Miami. Like I said, I lived there for a couple of months. I was one of those posers. I did well in biotech. Crazy story. If you guys want to hear about how I met David Bianco, remember David Bianco, Deutsche Bank chief strategist.
Right.
If you guys 3 minutes, can I tell the story? It's crazy. So I'm in Miami. I'm on South Beach. I rented an apartment there, so I used to just trade with my iPad by the pool. The weather outside is like over 100 degrees, humid as hell. They're just typical Florida, right? And this is like June or July. And so I go by to the bar to like order a salad or something. I was hungry, so I sit down. I'm literally just in my swimming shorts with an iPad, sweating. This guy comes in a 3-piece suit, like wool suit, like full blown, like black shoes, socks, everything. I just look at him. I'm like, wow, I feel bad for this guy. Sits down right next to me. And he goes, how's that salad? I'm like, no, it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm like, all right, like literally a 3-piece suit, tie, everything, 120 degrees outside, like nuts. And he's just sitting there sweating, just sweat dripping down his face. And I'm like, can I get you a Corona on me? So whatever. I order a Corona, a cold one. Right. And he goes like, oh, what's that on your iPad? It's like, oh, I just, I trade biotech stocks. I invest in them. He's like, oh, cool. Like, what you like any of them? Like, what? I'm like, oh, I don't remember what it was at that time. Chelsea Therapeutics, they got sold, something like that. I don't remember what it was, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, this one, and it looks like they're going to get bought out. They just got, their approval for their like orphan drug designation, whatever. And he goes, you know who I am, right? And I'm like, no. I'm like, well, your face is kind of familiar. He's like, my name's David, right? And I'm like, David, okay, cool. Like, I think I've seen you on like CNBC or something. Like, what is it? He's like, David Bianco, Deutsche Bank. And I'm like, oh my God, that's great. This guy, right? So we had this like brief conversation about biotechs and like investment stuff. And I still keep in touch with him once in a while. We just exchange emails and stuff, right? So sorry?
You tell him about Yelp?
No, I didn't. I told many other guys. Actually, I find really great value guys that I've talked to, really great value guys. And they've had a really rough time in the last couple of years because, well, we all know what happened to value. Middleman brothers, Phil and his brothers, right? But I think they have very, very great ideas in the things that they invest in. They had like AMC. They were stuck in AMC. I don't know if they got out of it on that huge short squeeze. I really hope that they did. Yeah. Right. But they have I read their letters like, the Bible, man. And just I love the stuff that they do. I love what they write. It really makes a lot of sense for value investors. Yeah. But I talked to them about YRC. I don't know if he's bought it or not, but yeah, I don't really just message people like one by one, say, hey, buy it. Or like, I like it. Just kind of like, I'll do a write-up. If somebody likes it, they'll do it. I'm kind of done with the whole asset management thing until, if we open a fund, but I want to do a lot of fixed income stuff. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Actually, local fixed income stuff is wicked, man. It's, you're getting for like a AA- rated bond, you're getting like 6% coupon, literally. Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's good. And because of the high coupon, and basically it's Sharia law, right? Because it's a Muslim country here, right? And one of the main things is don't cheat, don't lie, and stuff like that, right? No fraud. So basically what would happen is if, one of these companies that, issued these bonds, something were to go, bad south, right? Then the government would step in, help them out, kind of settle their debts. So basically you're like, it's risk-free. So I would get them at IPOs at local banks. So I would get them at 100, right? And, like 3-4 weeks later, they would be trading at 103, 104. I sell them and then just keep
Oh, wow.
redoing it. Yeah, get like 15-20% annual on that.
The home field advantage.
Yeah.
So look, it's been an awesome conversation, man, and we got through a lot here. But what I do want to talk about, if you could maybe have some war stories. Do you have any bad investments you want to talk about?
Bad investment, Revlon. Damn, holy, that thing owned me. Oh my God. There wasn't much value there. The situation that they're going with, and I mean, they got Perlman, owning what, 89% of the company, right? You know how there's the 90% rule that he can just buy it out at whatever price he wants. So everybody's trying to keep him from buying 90%. And then actually the Middleman brothers were one of the larger shareholders there. And so what I noticed, imagine there's Perlman that owns 90%. Then there's the Middleman brothers who own like 3%. And then there's like another fund that own like 2%. So literally there's no float.
Right.
Like it doesn't exist. It's just non-existent. So whatever the short interest, it's multiples of whatever the float is, the actual float is, right? And I was trying to do like a little corner on that one. I've bought like just over like 1%. That didn't work out very well. I mean, and I was literally on a flight from Moscow to New York to meet with, I think, Darren Hawkins, the CEO of YRCW. I met with him a couple of times. Literally while I was on that flight, I got on the flight, everything was okay. When I got off the flight, it was minus 40% and no news. That one killed me, man. That's one thing that didn't work out well for me. Bad stories. I did short Tesla at one point. At a few points in my life, I've tried to
right?
tried to short Tesla, but I mean, I'm not going to repeat the same story that everybody else said. Who's won on shorting Tesla so far? Nobody. It's 0 shorts, 1 Elon, right?
Yeah.
For now, anyway. Yeah. For now, right? I mean, there are a couple of guys who are really trying. But
as long as they can keep raising capital and making the dream,
hey man, it is what it is. I think Kathy is a little, too much with what she's trying to say, and the 3,000 target she came up with yesterday, and why she said she thinks that with their 54 billion valuation for their non-existent insurance business.
Yeah.
Man, it's just, but it's written for the retail investor who doesn't have any idea what she's saying.
And there's 10 million new retail investors in 2020. So there's a lot of ears there for that.
No, exactly. But that's the appeal of the whole ARK funds, right? Is because they have these completely clueless investors who have no idea. They don't know what EBITDA is. They have never heard that word, and they don't know what it means, and they don't care, to be honest, right? So when Kathy comes out and we think this company is going to be worth $3 trillion because, cars are going to fly and Elon is going to turn into a Martian and he's a robot and whatever, right? She can come up with whatever she wants, right? And she's going to sell it because she has these, I don't know, thousands, how many investors they have there? Tens of thousands of investors there. I don't know. It's a lot. And by all means, like it is what it is. She's right. She's made money on it, right? She was at the time, she was the contrarian investor. And same with Ross Gerber, right? Gerber Kawasaki, whatever. I don't remember his name. He was always like the big Tesla fan. Right. And then, everybody used to troll him about it. But at the end, he won. At the end of the day, he invested his money in it. He's made money. Whatever he went out, it definitely is not worth what it's trading at now. We all know that. All the value guys know that. Even non-value guys know that, it's not worth what it's trading at today. But at the end of the day, the price is right.
It doesn't matter till it matters. That's
yeah. It is what it is. So it's not like I'm saying, I'm not one of those guys who's going to say I will short at some point, squeeze that, that's crazy and go nuts and, tweet 1 million times a day about it. It is what it is. It's the market, right? It's a simple rule, supply, demand, right? If there's demand, not enough supply, it's going to go up and vice versa. And that's all it is, right?
Yeah. Personally, I'm more long than there was a period of time where, we went short, but for the most part, we're just long. But the short, analyzing stocks from the short side for a while. We did a lot of pump and dump work too in terms of exposing the pump and dumps also. it made us better investors to be able to look at these stocks more critically, which is good.
No, absolutely. But I'm sure you could agree with me. There are so many things that you avoided that you could have made a hell of a lot of money on.
Oh, sure.
Just because you have this fundamental mindset. And the same thing goes with me. Like, I mean, I see GameStop as flying after hours, and there's a there's like a 90% chance I can make like 10% quickly on it if I buy it, right? But just but then I look at the market cap and I go, are you guys like? It stops me from a lot of these crazy, cool, fun things that are happening in the market, right? But that's all they are. They're crazy, cool, fun things. Like instead of it's something that. I did this trade after hours in GameStop. The second time it started squeezing. So I bought it like, I don't remember, like 90s or just low hundreds. And then I literally sold it like $10 more, made like a couple of $1,000. And I tweeted, I can finally afford to buy something nice for my wife and our anniversary, So, and then Svei, she is one of the writers for Reuters News. She called me up on one of the articles on Yellow. She's like, "Did you actually just make this trade in 3 minutes?" And I'm like, "Yeah, literally." And I didn't even make the selling trade. I bought it right away. I set a sell, right? Just to put a sell order. I think I went to like get water or something like that, or I went to the bathroom. I come back and it's sold and it's already at like 180. Right?
I clearly like to say, look. I mean, 90% of what I do is this long-term stuff, investing in great companies. I think are great companies, at least, or turnarounds or undervalue companies. But I like to make investing fun, so I'll put a little bit on these speculative outlier kind of fringe bets, whether it's cost, KOS is one that I want.
Fun, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah,
it's crazy stuff. GameStop, AMC. I was a big supporter of AMC. I was waiting for a short squeeze on it, right? And because it was shorted over 100% of the float, and that always ends in disaster, at least once, right? When there's,
I think you had mentioned that to me. I think you had mentioned
I was long AMC for quite a while, and then when it dumped during the pandemic and lockdown to like 1 and change, I averaged down, and then as soon as I was even on my average, I got straight out. Pandemics, movie theaters don't go together. It's very simple. Like, I mean,
missed out popcorn though.
You do not have to be a finance genius to understand that pandemics and movie theaters don't go together. That's it. It's simple. And, a lot of people go, "Oh, AMC is going to go to the moon." And I'm like, well, yeah, briefly.
Yeah.
That's it. Right. So
it's all, this whole thing is how do you play it? Is 90% of your focus that, or is it other? It's good to have a little bit of fun here, but I look at it. This is the question I ask myself. And this is how I prevent myself from feeling guilty about not buying these stocks. Like, how am I going to feel if I'm wrong? What am I going to do if I'm wrong and the stocks are falling and you have emotion? Am I have any way of justifying holding the stock emotionally if the stock goes down? And so if you have a great stock, you don't care if it goes down. You want it to go down, and you don't get emotional about it anymore. Yeah. And that's that just takes one thing out of it, and then that's how I look at it. And there's enough of these.
It's not even that. When you join on one of those things and you lose money in the end, you can't even go look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Damn, I'm an idiot." You were doing this trade, saying to yourself, "You're an idiot," right? To yourself for doing this. So when you lose the money, it's too late. You already said you're an idiot for going into this trade, right?
Of course. And I feel like, man, what did I just do here? I'm gonna buy this piece of crap, and I'm not an investor. I feel guilty for doing it when I do it.
You're doing it because you're bored, because all those long-term things are kind of sitting around on wherever they are. You're doing it because you're bored. A lot of those things happen when you're bored. But yeah, it's really sad, because we all know, for me, one of the main things about market, it always comes down to valuation. They can fly high or they can be really low towards the end, whatever time it takes, whatever that time it takes, it's still going to come back to valuation, right? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, a lot of clueless folk is going to lose a lot of money.
And it's usually going to be some external event. You don't know what happens is going to cause. It might not be the company failing. It might be just an event. 2008 occurs where it resets the valuations at some point where it matters, right?
Yeah, but for things like GameStop, it could just be something as terrible as a Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Just, you know, it's a Tuesday. It's time to go. Like you never know. Whoever's causing this, like I don't believe that a Reddit forum is squeezing it to those valuations and with those volumes. I don't know. I think there's more to it. But I'm not one for conspiracy theories. So, but you know, I think there's more to it.
I am happy that retail investors are making their money. I mean, they're making money. It's great to see that at least, look, it's a matter. We have our view, on what we think stocks are worth and how the market should work. But and I was upset, for a little bit for years. I was like, God, this is horrible. But now, yeah, look, it's bringing people into the market, which is good for them. And then we know for the longest time, since 2008, that we were missing the retail investor. They got obliterated in 2008, and I'm glad they're coming back. And that money also flows into our nano-cap companies. And it's actually since 2018, you've seen a lot of flow into the value stocks, microcaps, nano-caps, and where it's becoming more consistent volume. And I think it's because of the retail involvement, and they're excited. It's exciting for the retail investors, the everyday investor. I guess even crypto got a lot of that new people in the market. It's just a shame to know how it might end, right? And hopefully you get some of these new kids. I've met a lot of smart kids who are actually are value investors in the retail crowd. They're learning how to do that, which is awesome, and they want to learn how to do that. So I'm hopeful that in the end, still good came out of it. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Right. No, I agree. I just really hope the folks that are new to the market, fresh, completely don't understand what they're doing. I just really, really wish that it wouldn't chase these hype stocks that are, crazy. We all know those are pump and dumps. Eventually they're going to come down very quickly. There's no stop orders are going to help, nothing like that. I really hope. I love to see that retail investors are coming in. Man, the company that I worked for, we've built a retail investor base in countries that didn't exist, like from scratch, right? And it was very difficult. It took the company 10 years to do it. But it's sad. We've been around. I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years now, right? On and off and stuff. And we've seen so much money get lost, man. So much money. And I mean, life savings and, whatever it is. And just, people are always chasing the quick buck. I just don't think the stock market is the right place to do it. But that's just my approach. It's definitely a convenient place to do it, especially with like apps like Robinhood and just, open account, put money through your credit card on there, buy fractional shares. I would much rather see all this retail money go into something like Amazon or Google, at these companies that are doing something, and, they're innovating, they're changing the world, piece by piece. And actually one of my partners, this is really cool. This is a whole story. We could do a podcast on this separately. What's the end game, Maj? What's the end game for you? What is it? What are you looking for in the end?
Well, for me, I enjoy what I do.
But what's the ultimate goal?
I mean, the goal, investing in the stock market, you want to make money.
Right. I mean, what is there an amount?
Is there? Well, that's a great question. I had a conversation with my friend yesterday. How much is enough, right? What is the amount? Right. And I think that the goal for me is to build wealth. And when it wasn't to make money, it was to build wealth. When I first started investing, it was to get into stocks as a way to make money and diversify into real estate and other kind of income streams. That was for me, and just to enjoy my life, to what money lets you, how it lets you enjoy it. But
is there something that would happen in your career at some point, and you would say, this is the pinnacle, like this is it, this is what I've been looking for? Is it just the number or something more?
When I was a kid, it was the money. When it was
always about the money. It's always about the money. Let's not kid ourselves. It's always about the money
and what you do with it, right? My goals of what to do with the money have become more noble over time. I have a goal to do things with it that I wish I would have done when I was younger. For other, just whatever maybe for charity and these kind of things. But look, I mean, let's not fool ourselves. I mean, we're in the stock market to make money and to build wealth. And I like to say that there's some point where enough is enough, but I enjoy it too much. I enjoy
Right.
the stock market so much that I can never leave it. And there's
It's true. Yeah, never. I went in February. I'm like, I'm going to sit it out. I just, resigned. I had like 300 flights in 2 years, all these offices. It was crazy, right? Man, I think I stayed away for like 7 hours, like in total. That's it. And I mean, yeah, it was. And then the weekend came, and then you're always sitting there on a Sunday. You go, why isn't it open 6 days a week? It's why are the Bitcoin guys so lucky? He trades 24/7.
Yeah, real lucky.
Right?
Yeah, okay. Imagine.
Yeah. No,
Same
we had
that
this
2008.
conversation.
Yeah.
We had this
I
conversation.
went down the crypto route during 2017, 18 for a little bit of fun.
Never owned a single crypto coin in my life, not once ever.
By the way,
I don't even know. I do not know how to buy one. I wouldn't know where to buy one, how to store it. There's some wallet, there's some hard wallets, there's some other wallet. For me, it's rocket science, man. It's just, but one of my really, really close friends, I mean, this guy made incredible
crazy,
money.
Man. It's crazy.
Incredible. He did the first ICO in Australia, and I think it was like the fourth ICO ever. Right. He got into this thing early. So what he became an ICO advisor after, and he would charge all these guys that are doing ICOs for his advisory. He would be like an angel investor into it. So he goes, we're going to give you 100K. You give us like a bunch of your tokens, and then you pay me for advisory and how to do this ICO properly in Bitcoin. So I'm assuming he still doesn't disclose the amount of Bitcoin it was, but I can tell you he's a very wealthy guy now, right? And I think, oh man, and this was like before it blew up and when it like first went into like 20,000 and stuff like that. But for myself, man, never owned a coin. I wouldn't know what to do it, it just makes me like cringe when people say, like a crypto exchange. Call it what it is. It's somebody's website, right? It's somebody's website that, has, these quotes running around, and then somebody else has a website and you can buy the same thing cheaper or for more. You can't have multiple exchanges trading the same. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just not for me, man. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's like, I mean, the effort too, one of the people on, one of the, our staff right now working for us is Noah Goldberg for a little bit. He's here and he started working for us in January. He's going to work for 6-7 months for us. And he knows, he's a value investor, but he knows crypto really well. He knows how to, he knows how to exploit it. And he admits most of this stuff is baloney, and that it's ironic. He owns
a flash drive, is what you're trying to say. Yes.
He's like, he's like, yeah, I know how it works. I mean, these shit coins of fraud stuff goes up, and it just, but really, there's no value to owning a lot of this stuff.
But it's the same thing as this whole GameStop thing and Tesla being at whatever 700 billion. Just everybody's trying to chase the quick money, and somebody's going to make
sentiment and trends. That's what all it is about.
Somebody is going to make a lot of money, and somebody's going to lose everything they have, man, eventually. Right. And it's a sad story, but at the end of the day, he was trying to do things that he has no idea what to do. Right? I mean, what are you going to do? But no, crypto is not for me. And I'm in Dubai. Dubai is very crypto friendly. You can literally buy any real estate with crypto from a government-owned developer here. Okay. You can rent cars for crypto. They have, they just announced like one of their free zones is giving out like these business licenses to crypto, and they're very, they're crypto friendly here, very much so. And, but it's just, I don't know, man. But being a value investor, there's no value in
there's no ownership. You don't own anything when you own crypto. There's nothing.
And Bob is gonna love this. I'm gonna see him saying that was great in about a minute after I say this. The only thing that dictates, and I'm not the one saying this. I think Charlie Munger said, is like the only thing that dictates the price of cryptocurrency, somebody's willingness to pay you more for it. That's it. There's nothing else, right? And then they buy it and they wait for somebody else to pay them more for it. That was the best thing I ever heard about crypto and a lot of other things. So its only value is speculative? Like,
I
is
was
that
at,
even right to
I was
say?
at a, I was at a coffee shop. And I remember Genius. Remember that when GNUS was flying? And this is back maybe summer. I think I want to say summer of 19, maybe. I believe that's when it was. I was at a cafe, and I'm sitting at the cafe working, and there's a table next to me, and I hear them talking stocks. I get all perky and start listening. And these kids talking on the stocks and how we just made some money on Genius, GNUS. And then the other kids ask him, how much is it up now? It's up like 2-3 times. It went from like $1 to like $8-9. I sold too early, but I got back in. And then he starts asking I don't know what they do or what it's worth. I don't know anything about the company. So that's kind of like plays into this whole thing we're talking about here, right? Just someone was willing to pay more for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but it's just painful when oh my God, I saw the stock. I was sitting there not making money, this person making money on something that doesn't even know he owns it. But I accept it.
My wife literally just texted me. My wife is like 8 months pregnant now, right? She's on that finish line, right? And she just messaged me, and it's 2:30 in the morning here, right? She's like, "Are you insane or drunk?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Why are you so excited at 2:30 in the morning? Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just talking to some guys over internet." And I'll go back to sleep.
Let me end it with you on this one then, so you can get some sleep. You asked me, why do I invest? What is your ultimate goal? Why did you? Is it? I'll put it right back at you.
I want to have the influence to kind of. I wouldn't want to say, like Warren Buffett and all those guys, they come out and they have all these famous quotes and stuff like that. Like, I'm really, like, believe it or not, I'm really in it for the small guy in the game, right? I really want to have the influence like Warren or whatever it is when they come out and they say, well, this is bullshit. You shouldn't put your money into this. And this is something good. You should put your money into it. Right. But when you're a nobody investor, nobody knows about you. Nobody's going to listen. And hopefully I can, at some point in my life, if I made a couple of, activist moves and kind of became a bigger investor, or like we have a fund like multi-billion-dollar, I kind of want to be at the point where I would say I could kind of dictate. Not even dictate, I could kind of influence people to stay away from all the garbage that's out there in the market. There's a lot of it. Right. I mean, there's so much of it. And I mean, and I want to be able to kind of, have, be popular enough, or be known enough to kind of influence people to kind of, make them think whether or not they should put their like life savings into this stock or derivative or whatever this asset is. I'm not saying I want to be able to pump stocks or anything like that, or dump them or anything, because a lot of people like Elon could dump his own stock, and he's done that before. You know what I mean? You say, oh, Tesla's price is too high. What? Like, I don't think I've ever seen the CEO tweet that in my life. Right. And then we had this conversation with one of my partners, and he's like crazy about venture and pre-IPOs and seed rounds. He's like, I want to get to the point, like, the Sequoia and all the big venture guys. Well, whether you believe into it or not, but they kind of dictate the future of our world. And when we had this conversation, this was a long conversation over like iced cappuccino on the side of a parking lot, going through a pack of cigarettes each. Like literally it was like for hours, like one of those, I don't even know, those awakening conversations, right? And it said these guys that are doing like IPO investors, pre-IPO investors, let's say you have two guys in a room, they have two very similar ideas, and one of them is better technologically. Right. But this guy knows how to market his product better. He's going to get the funding for it. And this guy is not going to get the funding for it. And unfortunately, the guy who has a better idea and a better technology, the world may not see it. Right. So he's like, I want to be that guy that kind of dictates where, a product or a service gets to the market because it gets funded in the very beginning. That's why he switched from being, he's an excellent stock investor. The guy's up like 1,600% this year. Like literally, I've watched his account, and he buys the biggest trash in the market. Like literally, sometimes he would message me. He's like, Igor, man, buy this sticker. I'm like, what is? He's like, I don't know, just buy it. It's gonna go up. right? And he's like, it's one of those, and it will go up. Like there's like a 90% chance it's gonna double in a week, right? I don't know how he does it, but just he just now he's fully blown into venture and all that, and it kind of makes sense to me. You know what I mean? There's a lot of I met with a wicked startup here in Dubai. The guy did what they claim is level 5 autonomous driving, but they basically Dubai police and the whole world that kind of keeps up with the outside world in Dubai, and they saw that Dubai police, they have like these like Bugattis and like race cars and all that in their fleet, and they're very advanced. So Dubai police came to these developers and was like, we want an autonomous rover that's going to patrol the streets of Dubai by itself, like literally just drive around all these different like sidewalks. And they developed it. They literally made it in like 2 years. And then the whole COVID thing came and they kind of lost funding. Man, when I saw it, and I'm like, this company is literally in the same stage of their life as Zoox from Australia that Amazon just bought for $1.3 billion. And these guys are having a hard time getting 500K in a seed round.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm kind of getting interested in the whole venture thing too, but I like liquidity.
That's the thing. I just had an interview. I interviewed a CEO last week and a second interview, private company, and it was great hearing the story. You know, hearing his plight to getting where he was at, and I'm going to help him. You know, and that's something we're going to. One of my next things is to get into some of these. You know, helping these little smaller firms kind of get some capital,
right.
and not even just even just assembling the right team to help them even with their growth plans and these kind of things. So.
Yes, that's why I mentioned that company, because I think I'm going to invest. I wouldn't call myself like an angel investor, but I think their technology is cool, and I think the guys have their mind in the right place and they have the brains to get it somewhere. They don't need too much money at the time. Like, I mean, if I went around some of my friends, I could collect it in a couple of minutes. It's 500K. You know what I mean? But for them, it's huge. For them, it's whether their project lives or doesn't. Right. So I'm thinking I could give it a try, which is something completely different from what I do day to day in investments. But yeah.
You're still analyzing a company. You're still analyzing a potential CEO.
There's no revenue. I mean, it's not negative revenue like Plug Power, but there's no revenue for now. And did you see that? I've never seen that before in my life. Negative revenue for the year.
No,
that was awesome. The company reports negative revenue. It's up 16% post-market. I love it. Oh my God.
Yes.
Negative revenue. That's a new low for the market.
Go more.
They literally, it's like we haven't sold anything this year and we had a return from last year. So we have negative revenue. Oh, wow. Awesome. Great. But that's just what the market is right now. It's a little crazy. I think it's a little crazy. There are a lot of interesting stories. This whole SPAC thing is going nuts. A lot of people now. Well, I think there are some good ones that are merging with companies that could be worth a lot of money in the future because they're still startups or small companies. But for a majority of them, a lot of people are not reading into the whole how the SPAC is and how much money is going to be left in it and what kind of merger they're doing and what's going to be the fully diluted share count and so forth and so on. Also, man,
the SPAC game is all in the end about capital structure. It's
right.
It's a way for these founders to cash in.
Sorry, I have to find my my power bank.
Oh, sure. Okay,
yeah.
there you go. While you're doing that, I will say that when Geo Investing, we launched it, our whole mantra was providing retail investors, with institutional type of quality research to protect the investor, to show them that there is quality in small companies and how to find it and how to avoid the fraud. And I
salute you for that all the way, man. I think what you're doing is great. Absolutely.
First Wall Street, it's still part of what we do. And our subscription prices, at $400, $480 a year, which is, and from seeing we do a lot of research, and we're really doing our best to try and help that. I would applaud that your goal is to do that too, which is awesome. And maybe we can work together on that one day. You never know.
Hey man, you never know. I mean, we're in the same business. We're just, maybe one day. Why not? We're doing a lot of. I love micro stuff. I know you guys do a lot of micro and nano stuff. I'd love to, even if there are like some good companies, just shoot me a message. Say this one. Maybe I like it. I'll buy like 5% or whatever company.
I think I got a bunch of those. So don't be careful what you wish.
No, absolutely. I'm always looking for new investment. It kind of gets to the point, like you remember how you asked me, there's like a scanner or how do I look for these companies? And I'm going to be dead honest with you. 95% is from my network. Like somebody just, messages me, calls me up, or like writes on WhatsApp. He's like, hey, take a look at this thing. I have people like message me on Twitter, be like, hey, take a look at this. And like 9 out of 10, I will actually give it a look to see what it is, at least what the company does. And, there are some like right away red flags that I never touch. Right. And especially like I would never invest if the company is like over 50% insider owned ever. Like if it's a controlled company, would never touch it, right? Because you have no chances of getting anywhere with that one. If something goes bad, you can't even try to be active with it. I would always look at the debt structure. If there's like one debt holder, well, for YRC, it was a big red flag for me, but it was a debt restructuring, so it kind of made sense. They just kind of put all the debt under Apollo for like massive interest. I think they were paying like, oh man, at some point they were paying like 11% or something like that. They're paying like 70% of some of their leases from like 2008. They're getting out of it. It's getting better. And literally the US Treasury loan helped it out, because I think that one carries an interest rate of like 3.5, which is not huge difference.
Right.
So yeah, I guess I don't really scan for it. Majority of it comes from just, people messaging me or people that I talk to, and there's some cool ideas out there.
You follow
for sure, including you guys. Yeah.
You follow Connor Haley, AltaFox?
The who?
AltaFox Capital. You should follow him. You might like that.
AltaFox. No, I do follow him. I follow a bunch of guys, like smaller funds and guys that do like small caps and stuff like that. No, definitely I do.
Hey, Bobby, where are you at? You said you were going to ask a question. What happened to you?
Yeah.
Still drinking your beer?
You asked them all. I mean, every question I wanted to ask, you dug right in,
You had us all excited, man, that you're going to finally chime in, and
I didn't want to stop the flow, man. Like I saw you getting all pumped up with all the questions and everything. And Igor, you see all my messages while we're doing this whole thing. I'm like, this is the best episode.
I'm always trying to be real, right? I'm a lot of people, I watch a lot of interviews and I watch a lot of like podcasts and stuff. Somebody just sits there in their tie and, just talks about his investment and the assets and the liabilities and this so forth. Yeah, lighten up. It's just stock market. Come on, man. People take it way too seriously sometimes. No, I'm really happy you guys asked me to do this. Yeah. And actually, the reason when I remember which one of you messaged me and said avoiding the crowds. My other red flag would be I do not touch these hype stocks, meme stocks, or whatever you want to call them. Oh man, if somebody stays away from crowds, it's me. Like, I mean, I'm invested in stocks that nobody's ever heard before of, and just, I don't know, it seems to work out. But I always enjoy when the crowd comes later while I'm already invested in them. I definitely do enjoy when the crowd comes. Yeah. But that's the whole thing about stock picking, right? Is you have to pick those that you think are going to get good enough for the crowd to come, and that's always good.
Igor, I was honest. I was thinking of actually renaming the pod to "Avoiding the Crowd Until They Come" with Maj Soueidan. I think that
until they come, yeah.
I think that might be a better name for this show.
That would work on it still a little bit, maybe.
Maybe not. Yeah, it's not too good.
Avoiding the crowd for now.
Yeah. Bobby.
All right. Should we land the plane?
So Igor. So tell us your Twitter handle, how we can find you.
My Twitter is at MVRK. It's short for Maverick, like MVRK 34. I don't know why 34, but 34. I don't know.
He's a Shaquille.
I am 30. I am 34 this year. I'm going to be turning 35, and but yeah, MVRK 34. So I like to change those once in a while. All right, guys. Thanks very much. This was awesome. I loved it. Yeah. I hope you have a great day. It's almost morning for me. But anyway, stay in touch. And if you want me to come on again, I'll be more than happy to.
But so you can find me at geoinvesting.com. I'm the co-founder of Geo. Email us. You can email me directly at maj@geoinvesting.com. If you want to email me a stock pitch, maybe you want to be on the show, let us know. You subscribe to Geo Investing. We have 2 memberships. We are actually 3 now. We have an annual at $480 a year, a biannual at $299 a year, and a monthly at $59.99 a year. And follow me on Twitter at Maj Geo Investing, and you can follow Geo at Geo Investing on Twitter. So thank you. Yeah, if I come to Dubai, we're definitely. My cousin lives in
Come to
Abu Dhabi.
Dubai. You're gonna love it. And now is the time. It's gonna get really, really hot very soon. You have like a month window still to come, and then just forget about it until like October. Is gonna be like 140 degrees. It's nuts.
Not for me.
Yeah, what you guys are shaking your head like you don't know. I live in the desert. Right? Like, I literally live in the desert. Right? So we all know. We knew where we were going. But yeah.
Right.
But anyway. Again, it was a pleasure, guys. Thanks very much. I love what you guys do, and I wish you all the best. And I'm definitely gonna do my part out and stay in touch.
Thanks, Egor.
Thank you, Egor.
Right. Take care.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not an offer or solicitation of an offer to buy or sell securities. SNN.Network and Maj Soueidan are not licensed brokers, broker-dealers, market makers, investment bankers, investment advisors, analysts, or underwriters. We do not recommend any companies discussed. We may buy, sell, short, cover securities in any company mentioned and may profit in the event those securities rise in value if we are long and fall if we are short. We recommend you consult with a professional investment advisor, broker, or legal counsel before purchasing or selling any securities referenced in this podcast.